Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to Crime Zone. Authorities in St. Louis County, Missouri say that a 58-year-old man has been arrested and charged this week after he allegedly robbed a local credit union wearing a Santa hat. According to reports, the crime took place on December 18th, when Kenneth Hopper entered the First Community Credit Union in Bridgeton, in the northwest suburbs of St. Louis. Once inside, Hopper allegedly threatened to blow up the building and managed to steal $1,000 before taking off. He didn't make it very far though, as he was caught later that day in the adjacent suburb of St. Anne, still in possession of the stolen money. Hopper was taken into custody and subsequently charged with first-degree robbery and making a terror threat. He remains in police custody at the current time, though was reportedly taken to the hospital following his arrest after complaining of chest pains. A New Orleans vintage arcade bar is reportedly in ruins this week after a man with an apparent vendetta against the business destroyed property and threatened patrons there several times over the span of 2 days. According to reports, the whole thing started on the night of December 12th, when about 20 patrons were relaxing and having fun at the all-you-can-play arcade called the Sea Cave in the city's Bywater neighborhood. It began when one of the patrons, 30-year-old Mitchell McNeely IV, was observed by the Sea Cave's owner, Judah Lee, covering one of his hand-painted vintage arcade cabinets with stickers using a supermarket pricing gun. Apparently, this was not the first time McNeely had acted strangely at the arcade before. Though he had only been a member at the business for a month, he had already developed a reputation for saying inappropriate things to other patrons, and just generally making people uncomfortable. At this point, Lee decided that enough was enough, and at about 7:30 p.m., he refunded McNeely's membership money and asked him to leave. According to witnesses who were present that night, McNeely immediately became aggressive and proceeded to brandish a butterfly knife once he was outside. He also spoke of returning with a rifle before finally walking off. Things didn't stay quiet for long though, as roughly an hour and a half later, McNeely allegedly returned to the arcade bar, bike locking the front doors of the business so that no one could leave through them. He then started smashing windows. Luckily, everyone inside was able to escape through the building's back door. However, by the time police arrived, McNeely had fled. Later that night, Lee watched in horror at his home as McNeely was caught on surveillance video returning to his business yet again, this time with an axe. Between roughly 1 and 2:30 a.m., McNeely allegedly smashed every plate glass window, vintage TV, and arcade game inside. Once again, the police were called, but by the time they arrived, McNeely was gone. Lee estimated the damage to his business at between $30,000 and $50,000. Unbelievably though, things still weren't over from there. Late Monday night, after Lee managed to get together a small group of volunteers to help clean up the destruction, McNeely returned to the Sea Cave a final time, this time armed with a handgun. After threatening one of the volunteers, he ran away down the street. Thankfully, police finally caught up with him, and he was arrested at around 11:45 p.m. McNeely has now been charged with aggravated assault, simple criminal damage to property, criminal mischief, and false imprisonment. As for the Sea Cave's owner, Judah Lee, he said he is devastated by the incident. He has reportedly worked on his business for 6 years and did much of the extensive renovation work himself. He also hand-painted each one of his vintage cabinets. He said that he hopes to get the Sea Cave up and running again soon, but that it will take some time since many of the parts for his games are no longer made and are becoming increasingly more difficult to source. In the meantime, he has set up a GoFundMe campaign to help pay his employees while he shuts down to make repairs. Representatives from the Los Angeles Police Department say that they are searching for the culprit or culprits behind the fatal stabbing of a well-known rapper this week, after he was killed during the middle of a music festival. According to reports, the incident took place around 8:30 p.m. on December 18th at the Once Upon a Time in LA festival being held in Exposition Park. It began when a fight broke out backstage between a group of people and resulted in the death of 28-year-old Daryl Caldwell, better known by his artist name Draco the Ruler. It said that Draco died from stab wounds to his neck. Following the attack, the festival was ended early, with headlining artists such as Snoop Dogg and concert promoter Live Nation reportedly making the decision out of respect for those involved. Though few additional details are known about what led to the attack at this time, authorities say that they are currently interviewing witnesses in order to determine the identities of those responsible. News of Draco's death has been met by messages of grief from friends and family, fans, and fellow artists, many of whom have spent the last few days making tributes to the slain rapper online. At the time of this recording, the situation is still developing. Authorities in St. Joseph County, Indiana, say that the pilot of an ultralight plane has landed himself in jail this week after he allegedly crashed the aircraft while flying drunk. According to reports, the incident took place at approximately 4:40 p.m. on December 13th, when Indiana State Police received a call about a downed aircraft near Grant Road and Wild Heather Drive. When they arrived at the scene, they found the destroyed remnants of a red ultralight airplane that had crashed in the street right in front of the Heather Ridge subdivision. Though the pilot of the downed aircraft, 61-year-old Joseph Kroll, was not injured during the crash, police became suspicious when he showed signs of impairment at the scene. Sure enough, he failed the field sobriety test and was later confirmed to be under the influence of alcohol. He was arrested for operating while intoxicated endangerment and operating while intoxicated. At the time of this recording, Kroll remains in custody at the St. Joseph County Jail. Authorities in Jacksonville, Florida say that they arrested a 54-year-old woman earlier this month after she apparently admitted to spiking her boyfriend's lemonade with an antipsychotic medication because he, quote, wouldn't shut the F up. According to reports, the incident took place on December 7th when the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office received a call from a woman named Alvis Lorraine Parrish, who told them that they needed to come to her house. When officers arrived, Parrish was reportedly sitting on the porch of her residence and immediately began confessing to intentionally poisoning her boyfriend's drink. Parrish told officers that she had concealed a large quantity of Seroquel in her boyfriend's lemonade, further claiming that she had given him enough to quiet him down, but not enough to kill him. For those unfamiliar, Seroquel is used to treat schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, and depression. According to officers present at the scene, Parrish continued for some time with her confession, saying, quote, do whatever you want, but if you don't take me, I will kill him. When police entered Parrish's home, they found her boyfriend inside, who was extremely lethargic. He told them that he wasn't sure why he was so tired, but that his lemonade tasted funny. When informed about the presence of the drug in his drink, the man reportedly sounded confused, saying, I'm not sure why she would give me that. I don't take Seroquel. At first, the man refused medical treatment, but when he was unable to fill out a domestic battery report due to the effect of the drug, police took him to the hospital. Parrish was subsequently arrested and charged with poisoning food or water with intent to kill or injure a person. Authorities in the city of Vineland, New Jersey, say that they are investigating a fatal police-involved shooting this week after a man allegedly stole a backhoe and went on a rampage in a local mobile home park. According to reports, the incident began sometime after 5 a.m. on December 18th, when the unidentified suspect stole a backhoe and began to wreak havoc in the local area. The man began by destroying a car traveling down South Lincoln Avenue, before turning into the Penn Lincoln Mobile Home Park to continue his rampage. When police and emergency service workers arrived on the scene to try and stop the man, he turned his attention towards them, flipping an ambulance and a police car with the backhoe and totaling another police cruiser. Witnesses described the scene as something out of a movie. The rampage was finally brought to an end when one of the officers involved in the incident fired his service weapon at the suspect, fatally wounding him. Though the man was immediately given medical treatment, he was pronounced dead at the scene. At the time of this recording, authorities have declined to release any details concerning the suspect's identity. 3 officers who were injured at the scene were reportedly treated and have since been released from the hospital. No motive behind the attack has yet been uncovered, and the situation remains under investigation. Representatives from the Delaware State Police say that a bank robbery in Wilmington took a bizarre turn this week when the alleged suspect deposited the stolen money at an ATM at the same bank he had just robbed. According to reports, the incident took place at approximately 11:20 a.m. on December 11th, when 44-year-old Mick Roberts Williams arrived at the Wells Fargo Bank on Old Capitol Trail. After approaching one of the bank's tellers, Williams allegedly slipped a note across the counter informing her that this was a robbery. The teller complied with Williams's demands and handed over an undisclosed amount of cash, and he subsequently fled. However, it was what Williams did next that has investigators scratching their heads. According to police, once Williams was outside the bank, he immediately went to an ATM located on one of the building's exterior walls and deposited all of the stolen cash. He then continued to flee the scene, but was quickly located behind the nearby Price's Corner shopping center and arrested. Williams has since been charged with second-degree robbery and remains in custody at the Howard R. Young Correctional Institution. Unfortunately, at the current time, we aren't any closer to understanding how Williams thought that he would get away with the crime. Amazingly, it said that the account that he deposited the stolen money into was his own. Authorities in Nashville, Tennessee say that 4 men are in custody this week after they were accused of orchestrating and carrying out an elaborate murder-for-hire plot last year that led to the deaths of 2 people. According to reports, the terrifying scheme began after 46-year-old Eric Charles Mond, a partner in the Mond Automotive Group, returned to his home in Austin, Texas from a trip to Nashville in late February of 2020. During that trip, which he had taken in order to see a relative, Mond contacted a 33-year-old woman named Holly Williams, with whom he'd had a previous romantic relationship, so that they could meet up. Shortly after he got back home, Mond allegedly began to receive text messages from a 36-year-old man named William Lanway, who was also engaged in a romantic relationship with Williams. Lanway threatened to expose Mond's relationship with Williams and demanded money to keep quiet. Investigators say it was at this point that Mond began plotting to have Williams and Lanway killed, and he contracted the services of 3 men to carry out the crime. The men have subsequently been identified as 47-year-old Gilad Peled, 46-year-old Brian Brockway, and 30-year-old Adam Carey. Carey and Brockway are described as former active-duty Marines, while Peled is said to have been a member of the Israeli Defense Force. According to the Justice Department, on March 5, 2020, Mond withdrew $15,000 from his bank account, money which was used to create a so-called intelligence report that was provided to Peled. The department further alleges that this was the first of several payments totaling more than $750,000 that was paid to Peled and the other 2 men to carry out the murders of Lanway and Williams. In the days following the creation of the intelligence report, authorities say that Peled, Carey, and Brockway surveilled the 2 intended victims, confirming the address where Williams lived and that Lanway was staying with her at the time. On March 11th, the men allegedly carried out the final stage of their plan. That night, Carey and Brockway reportedly confronted Lanway and Williams in the parking lot of Williams' apartment complex, immediately shooting Lanway to death. It's alleged that from here, the men kidnapped Williams, driving her and Lanway's body to a construction site on Old Hickory Boulevard. Once there, Williams was murdered, and the 2 bodies were reportedly discarded at the site. After that, the men took measures to cover their tracks. While it's unclear what exactly led investigators to break the case open, based on the information available, it's safe to assume that they were able to recover some of the reports that the alleged killers prepared, and the communication between them and Mond. All 4 men are now in custody and have been indicted on charges of conspiracy to commit kidnapping, kidnapping resulting in death, and carrying, brandishing, and discharging a firearm during and in relation to a crime of violence. If convicted, all 4 men could be looking at life in prison. That's it for this edition of Crimes of the Week. If you enjoyed our video, don't forget to like and subscribe to Crime Zone for more true crime content like this, making sure to hit the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest releases. Thank you for watching.